Howdy folks, today we're going to be learning about OBS. Now this is a software that allows you to capture the video and audio that's on your computer and allows you to turn that into an MP4 super easily so that you can start editing with it. This is a great tool if you're a reporter, if you're a photographer, if you're an editor. It works to super quickly get the media you want, especially if it's coming from Twitter or Facebook, directly into a editing format. So let's get started.
So first, go to your search bar down here, type in Software Center. This is the station where you can find many different softwares to put on your computer. Many of them are useful, many of them are not. For this one, we're going to look at OBS Studio down here and install. Now while that's installing, we're going to turn it over to Jay for his opinion on the conflict in Azerbaijan.
Fart.
So we are going to go to this new logo that came up, OBS Studio. Double click that. And it's going to ask us if we want to configure it. Now this right here is asking if you want to update it. They have many, many updates. As you can see, this is the 26th version and then multiple subversions. You don't really need most of these things. They're just tiny bugs that you won't really notice for the most part. So you can update it or you can just skip it if you want. But now it's going to ask us to run the auto configuration wizard. Yes. And we are going to optimize this for recording because most of you will not be using OBS for streaming, although it is very useful for streaming. Next. And then we're going to use, for the resolution, we want to go to 1920 by 1080 because that's what we use here, and then 30 frames per second. You can do 60 if you have some wild high FPS footage, but you're probably not going to be using that for this. It's going to ask you what do you want. Yeah, you already did that. Nice job. Apply the settings. So now this is OBS. So what OBS does is it captures a source that is on your computer and adds the desktop audio, which is down here, to make an MP4 with the video you want. So you're going to go into the sources bin and right click, add a source, and you're going to want to go to display capture. So we'll call this screen record or whatever you'd like to call it. Hit OK. So we just entered an acid trip video apparently because this is what's going to come up when that happens. So down here you're selecting the display that you want to record. Now if you're in the office and you have a dual monitor, that's fantastic. What you're going to do is select display 2, and as you can see here, it displays what's on the other screen. So if I go over here, bring up a Chrome page, OBS is recording what's on the other monitor right here. So that's what you use it for most of the time, especially if you're in the office. Super useful. So you set that to be what you're recording. Now you can go into here and in the properties section of that, you can choose whether or not you want to capture the cursor or not. So if you don't want to capture the cursor, that's good for if you're doing a record of a website or something and you want to scroll, but you don't want to make it look like you're scrolling. So I usually turn capture cursor off. So then you have something you can capture. So if you go, but then we have to go into some settings. So if you go in the settings, first we'll go to output. So in this recording section right here, this is where your video will go to. This is the file that it will go to when it's done. So we have the R drive now. So you're probably going to set it into the R drive. And you would maybe put it into the media encoder in the R drive. That's where I put all of my OBS recordings. So you select that folder, and that's where all the videos will go once they're done. Now under this, for recording quality, high quality is fine. Indistinguishable quality, probably good for most things, especially if your computer is on a desktop or powerful enough. Recording format, you want that to be an MP4. And then for the encoder, you want to do the software X264 low CPU usage preset, which will make the files a little bigger, but it causes less buffering and error type stuff to happen. Then you hit apply, and then we go to video. These should both be 1920 by 1080, by Cubic's fine, FPS is 30. Important that these are both 1920 by 1080. And then if you go to advanced, under this recording section in the file name recording, little tab here, that's where you're going to name whatever file you're going to make. So say if you were doing a Twitter recording of a press conference, you would name this press conference 9/30, like whatever the date is. Then you'd hit apply. And OK, and now you're ready to go. So say we wanted to record a random YouTube video. Right, this German Shepherd is going to get recorded. So we have our video pulled up here. We'll go full screen on it, so it takes up the full screen. As you can see down here, this should say desktop audio, and that's the audio that's getting captured, which is just the audio that's running off your desktop. Simple enough. So if I play the video, you can see that audio down here, and then you can adjust it a little bit. That video is very loud, so maybe you bring it down a few, so it's peaking in the yellow on this slider right here. So now we're ready to record this German Shepherd. So you go over to here to start recording. You click that. And once you do that, it'll tell you down here that you're recording and how long you've been recording and what frame rate you're getting. You go over here to play the video. Get the cursor out of there so it's full screen. And boom, you're recording this. So whenever you are done, you just hit stop recording. And then you can go find your file. And you have the video you recorded. Fantastic. This is really good for Twitter and Facebook videos and stuff like that. Now, if you are on a laptop, you have to do something slightly different, which is you're only going to be using one screen. So you have to go into the sources, add, display source, or display capture, and we'll call this one laptop. So this is the display 1, and so it's going to freak out. It's going to be like, oh, you're looking at layers and layers and layers. Great. So on this one, we're going to take this one off. We're going to mute this so we don't see it. So we're just seeing this. So what you're going to have to do on this one is start a record and have it be in the same file path as you want it, and then minimize it out so that you can then record your video, which would be over here. So you start a record in OBS, you minimize it, and it's just recording what's on your screen. Now, there's an occasional error that I've seen on laptops where it doesn't recognize the display, or it does recognize the display, but there's a power setting wrong. If that happens to you, and if you select a source and it comes up black, I will link a solution for that from the OBS forum, which is very informational and helpful if you need any other help with OBS.